All right, we'll gavel in. Good evening, everybody. We will open the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody. It's always good to see a relatively light agenda, so we will try to move with some alacrity to take advantage of that. The second item on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes, which I have actually kicked back to Valerie. We will do that next month, just to address a couple of items, make a couple of revisions that I noticed upon reading. If anyone else has revisions, kindly get them to Valerie. The third item on the agenda is a new public hearing for Mark DeFonte, 102 Sugarcane Lane. Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the Town Hall at 120 Main Street, North Andover, on Tuesday, December 11, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. to all parties interested. The petition of Mark DeFontaine for property at 102 Sugarcane Lane, map 106.A, parcel 0264, North Andover, Mass, in the R1 zoning district. The applicant is requesting variances pursuant to Town of North Andover zoning bylaws. Section 7.3, Table 2, dimensional requirements in the R1 zoning district for a 12 by 16 shed. A variance from Section 195-7.3, Table 2, dimensional requirements of the zoning bylaws for one side setback in the R1 zoning district for 12 by 16 shed. Side setback proposed is 21 feet. The required side setback per Table 2 is 30 feet. The relief variance needed is 9 feet. Another variance from Section 195-7.3, Table 2, dimensional requirements of the zoning bylaws for one rear setback in the R1 zoning district for 12 by 16 shed. Rear setback proposed is 6 feet. The required rear setback per Table 2 is 30 feet. The relief needed is 24 feet. Application and supporting materials are available for review at the office of the zoning department located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from the hours of 8 to 4, Tuesdays from the hours of 8 to 5, and Friday from the hours of 8 to 11:30. By order of the Board of Appeals, Mr. Chairman, D. Paul Clark, Jr., Esquire.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And before we move on, hold on just a second.
I did something wrong?
No, you did. You did magnificently, Alan. Everybody may notice that the citations to the bylaws looks a little bit different than it has in months and years past, and that's because the last town meeting, the code was kind of recodified. And so that is what Valerie has done. She has printed for us the newest and greatest code. So we will, going forward, we will be using that. So we've got a 3-ring binder with the old code, might as well recycle that. So with that interruption, my apologies. If you would, your name and address for the record, please.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mark DeFonte, 102 Sugarcane Lane, North Andover, Mass.
Thank you very much. We see your application, and essentially it's relatively informal around here, so the floor is yours to tell us what's going on.
So basically what I'm before the board because of the size of the shed. I understand that if I was going to, I have an existing 8 by 10 on the property. It's falling apart, it's in need of repair. It's been needed to be replaced for some time now. It's my understanding that with a new 8 by 10, I can install that with a 5-foot setback. But because the shed I want is 12 by 16, I need to have I'm here to request the variance. Essentially, the 8 by 10 is too small for my stuff. We can't fit everything in it. So that's why we need to go with bigger size, the 12 by 16. The hardship, I believe, results in the shape of the lot. Strict enforcement or literal enforcement of the bylaws as they are now would center the new shed, the 12 by 16, in the center of my backyard, near the leach field, near the septic system. I don't think there's any, because it's a shed, I mean, it's personal property. There's no foundation. I mean, these things can be moved. I don't believe there's any privacy issues. I don't know if there's any abutters here, but essentially that's why I'm here. I'm hoping I can get this variance.
Noticed in your application that there was, some description about the rear abutters. Can you tell us what's behind your property?
Right, yeah, let me describe the lot. It's and it's not a square, it's sort of a trapezoid, kind of a pork chop type shaped lot. I'm bordered by the wetlands on all sides, substantial wetlands. The rear of the lot, it's all woods too. There's no houses in the back. The rear is town-owned wetlands, I believe. The left side is wetlands, and the right side is wetlands. On the left side of the property, there's already a pool. It was installed when we bought the house. It was there, it's pre-existing. There's a fence around the pool. On the right side, and let me go back for a sec. On the left side of the lot, the grade, there's a retaining wall. So the grade of the land slopes down before it goes into the wetlands, which is surrounded by the woods. On the right side of the property, where the existing shed is, it's flat, relatively flat. The only issue is I've got the wetlands there and I don't want to, I'm not looking to take down any trees or anything like that. I've gone through the conservation department. They came out, measured. The existing shed as proposed in the plan is beyond the 50-foot no-build zone, and they were fine with that. That's about it right now.
So one of the things I'm hoping that we can dive a little bit more discreetly into. One of the things that the balance of the board knows is that I get an awful lot of heartburn whenever we talk about single-digit setbacks here.
Sure.
And looking at this and the application, looks like there's a 6-foot setback. Can you tell me what's, with precision, why are we only 6 feet from the lot line?
Because they ain't more than, the lot line in the back isn't straight. It kind of veers off into the woods. The shed itself isn't centered straight to the house. It's kind of angled, so it kind of flows with the property, and it's towards the side of the woods. If I come in 10 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet, it's coming very close to the center of the backyard, and it's breaking up the continuity of the existing lawn. When I originally looked at it, I had a 5-foot setback. I went back to the survey company, give me some more. They came out, restaked it at 6 feet. It works at 6 feet. It blends in, it looks good. It fits in with the existing lot. The 30-foot setback, like I said, centers it right in the middle of the backyard, right on top of the leach field, the septic tank.
In looking at your plan, it's a little bit small, particularly as every year that passes, my glasses get harder and harder.
Yep.
The dotted line, is that marking the 30 feet
That's
around
the
there?
30-foot setback, right?
So in order to achieve, as of right, which is not what we're doing tonight, but we're just imagining things. In order to achieve as of right, you've got to come within those dotted lines, and that would kind of be, if I was hearing you right, that's kind of the middle of the backyard.
Right, where the septic tank is and the leach field is.
The septic is
That's
on that
the
side?
third-
The septic
Yeah.
is on that side?
It is, yep, because the pool's on the other side of the lot, the pool and the fence. Right, that's the 30-foot boundary, right? And I don't want it centered in the, setting aside the issue that it's on top of the septic tank and the leach field, it would break up the continuity of the backyard. I mean, it just wouldn't look right in the middle of the backyard.
All right. It's never my intention to dominate. I apologize to other members of the board.
The existing shed
Yeah.
is, if I'm understanding this correctly, so the new one is actually in front of, further into the yard
Yeah.
than the existing one.
Yeah. The existing shed, it turns out, wasn't completely on my property.
It's always a surprise.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a quarter of it was. So, by taking care of this, I'm gonna, the existing shed is being, we're gonna remove that, and take that down. So we're gonna resolve this.
You mentioned that, they originally put it on a 5-foot setback when you were designing it, and then you asked for more space, and they put it at 6 feet. Is there a reason they didn't move it more like 10 or 15? Like, I know like 30 is a lot for you, but is there a reason it wasn't 10 or 15?
Well, they did, and then we worked back because we staked it out. And I
Okay.
kind of looked at how it would look with the stake, and once you go beyond that 6-foot area, it's pushing right into the yard. I mean, I know the picture's blurry, but I mean, it's a lawn. It's just it's a square piece of lawn straight to the back. The shed's kind of angled along the side, on the right-hand side, and the closer you come in, the more you're getting it into that center of the yard, which is knocking up the flow. And I looked at the other side, I went over to the left side of the property, because the way the property goes with this kind of triangular, shoots out into the woods, there's a lot of land on that side. But the problem is, it's wetlands. And I don't want to go in taking down the trees and everything, and, then I'd have to build up the grade of the land over there because of the slope, just to put in a shed. I mean, it seems excessive. I believe that the previous owners had the shed in the right location, they just didn't have it on the property, so.
Anything else percolating for the board?
Well, I'm just curious, you might have said that, so excuse me if I missed it, but the shed is just sitting on the ground, right? It's not going to, no foundations being poured and all that.
No, it's and I had this conversation with the Conservation Department. It's going to rest on a bed of crushed stone. I wanted to do 3 inches. One of the Conservation Board members suggested 6 is better for something like this. So, but yeah, they're right, there's no foundation. If, I believe the space to the right is open space. Nobody can build over there. I don't foresee the town or anybody having to put in a pipe or anything back there. I think I'm far enough in where we're not going to have any issues with encroachment or anything.
And it's only visible from your property.
The backyard, it's in the backyard. None of the neighbors, nobody can see it.
So you're at the end of a cul-de-sac here.
Right, last house on the cul-de-sac, it's up in the back, yeah.
Can I say something?
I wish you would.
I don't see why we're making this such a big deal.
Thank
Okay,
you.
the guy's not
Thank you.
building the Empire State Building, he's putting a whole
Thank you,
little
yeah.
shed on a lot of land next to a pool. All right, why are we giving this guy a hard time for doing everything honest way?
Thank you, that's
All
right.
right, I mean, it's a no-brainer here.
A lot of time
Right,
and a
you're
lot of
putting
money
shed,
to
you're not
get
putting up the
to
Empire
this
State
point,
Building,
too.
right?
Would you believe that I spent more than a third of the cost of the shed to get to this point? Not that this is a substantial.
It's a shame that you have to spend the money that you're spending to do something to adhere to the law, instead of just putting the damn thing in. Okay, wouldn't that have been easier?
That
Oh, I
would be more
would've-
expensive in the
Yeah,
end.
no, well, who knows, if he
Yeah, I don't
only
know
would have
the
been
zoning
caught, right?
officers comes out
I mean,
right. I don't want any
the guy's not a
problems.
criminal here, he's trying to do it the right way, and we're grilling the guy like he's Whitey Bulger.
Thank you.
So this is a picture of the new shed?
Honest to
That's
God.
the new one, right, yeah.
That's the new shed.
I make a motion to close the hearing.
Not quite yet.
All right,
Not quite yet.
let the guy go home and watch the game.
I'd love to go watch the game myself, Alan.
I didn't even know what game we're talking about.
I think that I would share some of your sentiments, but none of your characterizations, which is I didn't experience a single person on this board giving the gentleman a hard time. I experienced the people on this board asking questions about an application that is before the board, which is precisely the job description for all of the volunteers who come to the board. So I admire your sentiment. I can't agree with any of the characterizations. With that in mind, is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to be heard on this matter? Seeing and hearing none, I think that it may be appropriate for you to make that motion.
I'll
Mr.
make a
Kusia.
motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
A second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So that is a unanimous. The public hearing is closed. Now the board shall deliberate. Alan, I think I hear you loud and clear. Let's just get this thing over with an approval.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the variance as requested.
I admire that. Let's give the rest of the board an opportunity at least to have some deliberation.
Okay.
They may not seize that
Well, we
opportunity.
get a second and then have the discussion, right?
Part of what Alan says by saying it's a shed.
It's a shed.
It's a shed, and it's not encroaching on anybody's
No.
property.
No.
I think that makes it pretty easy as far as I'm concerned.
I wholeheartedly agree. The fact that the town of North Andover is essentially surrounding this thing, that there doesn't look like there is a residential abutter within 100 feet of this thing, certainly gives me an awful lot of comfort.
No,
Anyone
matter of
else?
fact, to the side is open space.
Yeah.
That lot
Anyone
right
else
to the
with any
side.
thoughts? Is there a motion, Mr. Kusia?
I make a motion to approve the applicant's variances as requested.
I'll second.
And you want me to read the variances?
Tradition has become tradition for a purpose, yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. I would like to give the applicant his variances pursuant to Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, Section 7.3, Table 2, dimensional zeroings in the R1 zoning district for 12 by 16 shed. Also, a variance for Section 195-7.3, Table 2, dimensional requirements from the zoning bylaws for one side setback in the R1 zoning district for 12 by 16 shed. Side setback proposed is 21 feet. The required side setback for Table 2 is 30 feet. The relief variance needed is 9 feet. I'd also like to give him a variance from Section 195-7.3, Table 2, dimensional requirements from the zoning bylaws for one rear setback in the R1 zoning district for 12 by 16 shed. Rear setback proposed is 6 feet. The required rear setback for Table 2 is 30 feet. The relief variance needed is 24 feet.
Thank you, Mr. Kusia. Before we get the second, hey, Valerie, who's voting?
So,
Yep, this was a surprise, I know.
yeah, definitely surprised me.
Who's the new one?
So, well, that's the thing,
I'm
so
the
obviously
newest.
not Frank, it's gonna be between Michael and Steve, but they were both appointed at the same time.
Okay, so let's go ahead. So one of
You know what I mean? So
Go
it's
ahead,
not
Steve, you
like,
can have the second.
Steve, this is a big moment for you.
There you
So
go.
th-
I can handle the pressure.
All
Are
right.
you sure? Big
Motion
decision.
motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And that is a unanimous vote. Your variances are approved. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, members. Good night.
The next item on the agenda is the petition of Brian Flanagan, 52 Prescott Street.
You all set for me?
Yeah, fire away. Good idea.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the Town Hall at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Mass. on Tuesday, December 11, 2018, at 7:30 to all parties interested in the petition of Brian Flanagan for property at 52 Prescott Street, map 68.0, parcel 1, North Andover, Mass. in the R4 zoning district. The applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to the Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, Section 195-4.3, N4A, for conversion of a two-family home to 3 condominium units in the R4 zoning district. Application and supporting materials are available for review at the office of the zoning department located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Mass. on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from the hours of 8 to 4, Tuesday from the hours of 8 to 5, and Friday from the hours of 8 to 11:30. Per order of the Board of Appeals, Mr. D. Paul Clark Jr., Esquire, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kusia. So I think you heard the guy before us. You've probably been before boards or this one in the past. So I think, the floor is yours. Why don't you tell us about your application?
Great, thanks very much. Thanks for your time tonight, folks. Yeah, so...
I should have said, would you mind introducing yourself?
Oh,
Name and
sure
address for the
thing.
record.
My name is...
apologies.
No problem. My name is Brian Flanagan. Also, I'm part of Line Drive Realty, LLC. And I have a two-family home on Prescott Street, 52 to 54 Prescott Street, that I'm looking to basically turn into three units, three condos. I'm not changing the footprint at all. I'm only looking to basically do over the attic as the third unit of the building. It's a complete gut, basically, from just taking it down to the studs and so forth. The outside, the decks and so forth. The only work I'll be doing outside to the home would be to the front two decks. The roof needs to be replaced. The chimney needs to come down. Those types of things. But in terms of moving the foundation or doing additions, anything like that, there's none of that.
Is the roof line changing at all? Like, are you raising up?
No, I won't be raising up. I'll be adding skylights things like that, but
So from the
other than
outside,
that-
the house itself, other than you talking about like the porches and stuff, the house itself is going to look exactly the same.
Exactly.
So you-
Other than adding skylights to get some light into the top unit. Yep,
But we're still going to stay the exact same slant.
right.
And this may be a silly question, but when we talk about the porches, we're still gonna have two porches, is that right? At the end of it?
Very definitely, yeah. Yeah, if this is approved, that type of thing. Sure,
Yeah.
yep.
You interrupted the
Materials that, You're using the term condo, but the diagrams say apartment. So, I mean, are these for sale, as in condominiums, or are these apartments for rent?
Sure, so that's the plan, yes. I would be intending to sell them as individual condo units.
Okay, it's possible that Ms. Jacobs interrupted the flow. If there's more to your presentation.
apologize.
then
Oh, no problem at all.
By all means, carry on.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a whole lot else to add. The parking, is currently set up as I have it here in the diagram, kind of in one particular spot. I have some feedback from a particular abutter that mentioned something about the parking and so forth, and yeah, I'm amenable to. I mean, there are a lot of different opportunities to put parking. It's just how does one, make it aesthetically pleasing to everyone? So I'm open to suggestions, that sort of thing, if that were to come about. But I thought that was a decent idea to have it as is, but again, I'm open to suggestions, that sort of thing.
Are you expanding the driveway to do that, parking lot?
Yes. Yeah, the driveway is currently pretty short from me to probably the start of that table. One space side by side. So basically, I'd be adding on, going forward.
Widening of the curb cut?
Exactly, and then just widening it so that it's 3 wide now and 2 deep.
So we don't always get it. Sometimes we do, and it's extraordinarily helpful. In this case, we don't. So let's just do a little bit of a verbal thing here. Can you tell me the characteristics of this neighborhood? Is there another 3-family in the neighborhood, or is this essentially single and 2-fam kind of area?
Pretty much 2 families. I haven't seen any 3 families. I am aware. So some of the examples that I included in the packets are from Mount Vernon Street. So 52 to 54 Prescott is on the corner of Prescott and Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon, I believe, is entirely 2 families. I just took a drive-by recently, and there are a couple of 2 families on Prescott. I think it's 65, 67, and 116 and 118.
I drove by the property, and the man is 100% correct. The Mount Vernon Street is all 2 families, okay? Now, I don't know if they're condos or 2 families, but they're 2 units, to make a long story short. Directly across the street from him is another 2-family. Up the street from him is another 2-family. But Prescott Street is a predominantly single-family neighborhood. However, the man's not looking to rearrange the footprint. He's willing to do it from the footprint that's there. What is, in my opinion, he's taken an unfinished attic, okay, and he's putting a 1-bedroom apartment in an unfinished attic, okay? The 2-family is there. What he wants to add is a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't see how that's obtrusive to putting kids into the school system, you know what I mean? Putting a lot of traffic in the neighborhood. But that's only my opinion, the board has their own opinions,
The first and second floor right now, are they both 2 bedrooms?
They are, yes.
Can I ask you a question? For the diagrams we have here that we're looking at, the two-family is just the way it's laid out right here? Currently?
The two-family, as is now, no,
No?
no. So basically this, if I may, there's a wall here right now. It's not a load-bearing wall. So basically, I'd be taking that wall down to give it more of an open concept.
I understand.
That's all.
But it's only one bathroom and you're retaining one bathroom, right? You're not adding bathrooms?
Correct.
Well, you're adding a bathroom in the attic.
Right, yeah.
You're adding for the new unit, right? But in the existing two apartments, okay, it's what you see is what you get,
Right.
right?
I think this is a curiosity to me. Is this a walk-up attic from two sets of existing stairs?
It is.
Am I seeing that?
So, yeah, so the existing stairwell, kind of, yeah, you go up one side of the house, and then in the back is the other second egress.
And you're not willing to blow out the dormers, you're gonna keep the roof line the way it is?
Correct.
I might be a rookie at this and everything, but an attic with two modes of egress is a surprising feature.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's
That's dumb luck for you, I
yeah,
think.
right. Exactly.
That is seriously
Okay.
dumb luck.
Especially an unfinished one, yeah.
Right.
You haven't been in Lawrence, Paul, huh?
Like I said,
Those aren't
I'm not real
legal.
good at this.
Right, you haven't been in Lawrence yet.
What are the, so look, I imagine that parking is probably something that caught everybody's eyes, because it's never sightly. So I'm wondering, not charging you with anything right now, but I'm wondering, I think I heard you use the phrase that there are opportunities here. Like, what are the other opportunities for parking?
Sure. Well, I guess what I meant by opportunity, so the current proposed parking are the 6 spots here. I mean, there could be parking here, in addition to here, as well as here. Another option is to have it here, so towards the back of the house. I mean, it's whatever, again, is whatever the board really feels appropriate.
Are there curbs on Prescott?
No.
Essentially asking, are there any curb cuts going to be required is kind of my question. If the parking were to be someplace other than...
I don't think there are curbs anywhere, no.
Like an asphalt berm?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I heard you spitballing a little bit. What are the other configurations that you've at least discussed with, the architect?
Internally
Yeah.
to the home?
No parking.
Still part, sure.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I mean, I haven't spoken to the architect about it quite yet. This was kind of the plan that we came up with. We figured that was the most, succinct type of situation, and that's what I took to the to the land surveyor, and that's kind of what we did at this point. But I mean, I did talk about it a little bit with my surveyor, having the parking on the other side, but it was almost 6 in one, half dozen the other. I'm not, I figured the less pavement, digging into the yard, the better, but that may not. You know what I mean? That may not be what folks in the neighborhood want, so.
And there is, again, this is a silly question, but oftentimes I ask questions for purposes of the record and the legions of folks watching at home. There is not a garage on the property?
There is not, no.
No carport, no structure whatsoever, kind of
There is
heaviness in the parking.
a shed in the back, but other than that, no garage, no.
looks like you have about an 8-foot space between spaces 2 and 3, and 5 and 6.
Yes. 2 and 3.
Looks like there's a pole out.
Yeah, there's a
35-foot wide.
Exactly. There's a pole there.
Oh. Utility pole.
Yep, exactly.
Before moving on to a request for public comment, any other questions, concerns from the board for the applicant? And of course, there will be an opportunity for the applicant to come back to address after public comment. All right, then let me look in the gallery. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this matter? Absolutely. Would you mind seating the podium? And whenever anybody comes up, kindly introduce yourself, your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Ken Tokars, 55 Prescott Street, North Andover. I live directly across the street in a single-family house.
I said Prescott Street was predominantly single.
You said the house across the street was a two-family house.
Yeah, but there is a two-family across the street there.
I'm across the street.
Well, you're one of the houses across the street.
All right. Look, banter.
But there are many
I'll
houses.
make one last point. I'm directly across the street. I think the board already has a two-page letter.
Pass it out, I didn't know you were here to read it, so we should have sent it to you. So, here's the check.
Basically, a synopsis of this two-pager that's going around right now is, first of all, we think it's great that this house is going to be fixed up, and it's going to be getting rid of an eyesore in the neighborhood. It's fantastic, I think, the job you're going to be doing in cleaning it all up. Our main concern, when I say our, is my wife and myself, she wrote this letter, is safety for the parking area. The previous owners had a lot of difficulty shuttling in and out of that space with traffic going by on Prescott Street. And that was with one car. And now we're proposing 6 cars that are going to be stacked 3 and 3. And that kind of movement back and forth on Prescott Street, I think, is going to be very dangerous. The amount of traffic coming up and down Prescott Street has increased considerably within the last year or so, with Davis and Ferber, multiple businesses down at the end of the street in Davis and Ferber. We've got buses coming by, school buses, North Andover, Greater Lawrence, ambulances going by from Prescott House, students walking up and down, oftentimes on the street. And another safety issue besides lives is that telephone pole that's you see on your drawing there. They're proposing 2 spaces and 1 space on the other side of the pole. And with shuttling of cars, it's not inconceivable that pole could be hit and snapped. And that pole contains high-tension wires, the high power wires, rather, come into our house. And so we're concerned also about that aspect of it. But I can read this, and there's more detail in that, but that's a general overview of our safety concerns. And our feeling is that you should look into parking spaces on Mount Vernon Street. There's space over there that I don't think would detract from the look of the house. It's also safer for cars coming out of Mount Vernon Street onto Prescott Street, which would happen in that case because the nose of the car comes out into the street, into Prescott Street. You have to look both ways. That isn't necessarily true with the way the drawing would be now. Oftentimes, cars are just backing out. You'd be looking left and right and hoping nothing was coming by. So that's it in a nutshell. If you want, I could read this in detail. There's more detail in here.
I think it would be helpful. Otherwise, all the members of the board are going to have to put their heads down and read this. So I think it would be more efficient, whether it be you or someone else from the gallery, so that we have the benefit of Ms. Bailey's.
Like I said, this is my wife because she had a family engagement to go to.
Understood. This has happened before, so.
Okay. I am unable to attend tonight's December 11th public hearing on the application for a special permit for the 2-family home located at 5254 Prescott Street. I respectfully request that my comments and concerns about the project which follow be read in their entirety into the public minutes of tonight's meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. This application seeks what is, in my view, a substantive change to the character of North Andover's oldest neighborhoods. My home, the one next to it, across the street from it, and the one next to that were built circa 1890. The home at 5254 Prescott Street was built in 1900. The neighborhood abuts Machine Shop Village Historic District. I am pleased that the applicant wants to restore the turn-of-the-century home at 5254 Prescott Street, which has stood vacant for nearly 3 years. I do, however, have some pressing concerns. The application includes a parking plan that aggregates 6 cars on an enlarged swath of asphalt facing Prescott Street. That configuration does not comply with three provisions of the town bylaw 195-4.3 for the Residence 4 district, for which the applicant is seeking the special permit. 195-4.3, parentheses 3, there shall be no exterior alterations or displays which are not customary with residential buildings. 195-4.3, parentheses 6, the building or premises occupied shall not be rendered objectionable or detrimental to the residential character of the neighborhood due to the exterior appearance, emission of odor, gas, smoke, dust, noise, disturbance, or any other way become objectionable or detrimental to any residential use within the neighborhood. And then 195-4.3, parentheses 7, any such building shall include no feature or of design not customary for residential use within the neighborhood. There is not one multiple-family dwelling in the neighborhood of abutters to 5254 Prescott Street that has parking for all the units located on one area of the property. Instead, the parking spaces are split up, generally near the entrances of each unit. The application proposes extending the asphalt to the right of 5254 Prescott Street deeper into the side yard to create an additional 3 parking spaces. The vehicles would be lined up 2 by 2 back to front. The resulting effect is more akin to parking at a convenience store or other commercial enterprise, not in a residential neighborhood. The application gives as examples 2 multifamily dwellings located on Mount Vernon Street, examples 1 and 2 in the application, a dead-end road that abuts the left side of the property at 5254 Prescott. In both these instances, the parking for the units is not located in one area of the property. Instead, it is sited near the entrance of each of the units. The parking configuration also constitutes a public safety concern, with 6 vehicles jockeying within a confined space and having to back out onto Prescott Street. There is a telephone pole located in the existing parking area that would present another obstructive hazard as 6 vehicles maneuver within that space and avoid hitting the pole, which, by the way, provides power to my home across the street. Traffic on Prescott Street has increased considerably in recent years as a result of the development of the East and West Mill properties, which now house 90-plus businesses and 40 residential units along High and Water Streets. Ambulances from the new fire station and Prescott House Nursing Home, both at the top of Prescott Street, use the street as the shortest route to Lawrence General Hospital. Merrimack College rents student parking spaces at the East Mill Parking Complex and shuttles students back and forth to campus along Prescott Street. North Andover High School students walk to and from school along Prescott Street. In the winter, they often walk in the street due to snow and ice-clogged sidewalks. Additional traffic will be created with the planned development of more new condominium and apartment units on the former Davis and Ferber property. Does the town need to create even more traffic and safety hazards with a plan that has 6 vehicles backing onto Prescott Street around a telephone pole? What kind of safeguards are in place should the owners of any of the condo units have more than 3 vehicles? Since 2 of the 3 units will have 2 bedrooms, that is entirely possible. I encourage members of the board to visit the property at 5254 Prescott Street to assess firsthand the impact of the proposed parking plan. Before a decision is made, I also request that the town provide the abutters with existing and projected traffic impact studies based on the current and planned development of the Davis and Ferber property. It is important, I believe, to examine this special permit application in the context of other development and uses occurring around it. At this time, I encourage the board to reject the applicant's request for a special permit and seek, 1, a parking plan that adheres to zoning bylaws for the Resident 4 district, 2, traffic impact data for Prescott Street, both existing and projected, and 3, contingencies should any of the occupants of the 3 condo units have more than 2 vehicles they expect to house on the property. Sincerely, Karen Bailey, 55 Prescott Street.
Thank you for reading that into the record.
So basically, what the bottom line here is, we're concerned about safety because of the way the parking configuration is. Cars come in and out in this one square piece of asphalt.
Understood.
Can I say something?
Sure.
You do realize that there was a two-family there now, right?
Right.
Okay. That they only want to add a one-bedroom apartment. Do
That's
you
fine.
really think that that one-bedroom apartment
No,
is going to have that much of a traffic detriment to
we're
the
talking about
neighborhood?
6 cars in a confined
But
space.
4 are already allowed per se. Okay, so it's not like you're putting 6 cars there, there's already a two-family there. So if you're saying a two-family with 2 cars per apartment, there's already, quote, 4. So at most, you're adding 2,
And it's 2 in a one-bedroom apartment.
and it's 2 in a one-bedroom apartment, thank you.
1.5.
Right.
But-
Okay, so it's not like you're putting 6 there, quote, there was already 4 there.
Well, there weren't already 4 there. That house has been vacant for many, many years. There are only 2 people living there
Yeah,
at one
but they
time.
have the right to have 4 because
Oh,
it's already an existing
Yeah,
two-family.
all right, but in the
Okay.
meantime, all this congestion has built up in the meantime over the years. What I'm pointing out here is that, so do you want to increase that and take the chance of a nice vehicle accident happening there with increased traffic?
By the addition of a one-bedroom apartment?
No, by 6 cars and maybe more.
We're losing something in the meeting. There's already a two-family there,
Right.
okay? So because there was already a two-family there, they're already allowed 2 cars per apartment. So there's already 4. So we're arguing over the addition of 2 parking places. And like my colleague to the right said, in a one-bedroom apartment. Okay?
No, it's where the parking places are all being
Okay.
located.
Yeah, but don't use the word, we're adding 6 places.
Okay.
Because there's 4 there already,
All right.
okay? Unless I'm missing something here.
No,
Okay.
historically, though, there's only been 1 car there, and I've seen the
Well-
difficulty of the 1 car going in and out.
Okay, so what you're saying, then there's only 1 car there for a 2-bedroom unit, so then consequently, there's only be 1 car for a 1-bedroom unit. Let's not argue anymore. I get your point.
I'm just pointing out the safety issues
Okay,
here, that's all.
I get your
That's-
point. I think you're incorrect, by the way.
But the real issue is not that there's a one-bedroom unit, the real issue is 6 cars.
Yes.
And, you
No,
know,
like I said earlier, we think it's great, he's fixing
Yeah.
up the house, and it's gonna be fantastic.
and you don't mind 6 cars, you just don't want 6 cars there.
Right,
Okay.
that's all. It's like, is it 3 here and 3 on the side? Just get rid of that safety concern, that's all.
I can't
That's-
say I disagree with them.
No, I'm just asking to clarify. Yeah. I mean, I have a daughter who lives in the city, and, they stack their cars up in the driveway, and every time the first person wants to move,
You gotta move all
2
the
cars back out into the street, and it's a hassle. So, I mean, I understand the issue here.
And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not taking issue with what you're doing and what it looks like, I'm fine, it's just the 6 cars in that one little spot. That's all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Come on up. Just your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Andrea Betancourt of 13 and 15 Mount Vernon Street in North
Speak
Andover.
up a little bit, Andrea, please.
Andrea Betancourt, 13 and 15 Mount Vernon Street. I'm actually in the butter. And actually very excited to see the place cleaned up as well. It's been abandoned for a long time, as my neighbor has indicated. So I have more questions than comments, just sort of what's going to be happening, especially
Absolutely.
being...
Any questions, you can
Okay.
address the board, and then we will ask the applicant to come on
Great.
up and address them.
Okay. I did have a question. I might be moving around, kind of out of order here, but there is a shed on the lot right now, and I'm wondering if that meets the setbacks.
Okay. What else you got?
The property is a mess. There's a lot of brush and old wood or whatever. We want to just know if that's going to be cleaned up, what landscaping's going to be done.
Okay.
There's also in the back corner of the lot, it floods. So I want to see what's going to be addressed, how that's going to be addressed.
Which, when you say the back corner, we're referring to,
Well,
On Mount Vernon Street?
if you're looking at the house from Prescott, the back.
okay.
Right.
So closest to the shed, the corner
Yes.
closest to the
Yeah.
shed.
Yeah.
So what is your problem?
It floods.
It floods. So it actually floods into, like the shared corner is all,
But you do understand the house is there already?
yes,
He's
I
not building
just,
the house, he's not putting an addition on the house.
I'm just here to ask questions.
Okay.
Thank you. And then the other question I had, I mean, we'll have to talk more about the parking. There is a lot of traffic on Prescott. There's also, there's a lot of traffic on Mount Vernon too. I know my neighbors have daycare and such, but as everyone said, Mount Vernon is mostly two families. There is one very large, one family. Everyone else, all the other units are condexes, so it's two-family, like duplexes. So it's like basically they're all kind of like colonial, split down the middle, owner-occupied. So that's sort of the neighborhood. So those are the questions I had. And as far as the parking, I think we're at 6 spaces now. Will they be able to add more in the future, or is it going to be a limit on that? So that's
All right.
another question I have.
Thank you.
That's
We'll
it.
get those addressed.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Seeing and hearing no one else, if the applicant could come on up and perhaps answer a few of those questions or concerns, that would be helpful.
I'd probably save the parking questions for last.
Okay.
Those will probably be the longest discussion.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for your questions. In terms of the setback, it looks like, honestly, I'm not positive. I'm just going off of this, I don't know, as I purchased the home. It looks like the shed 5.2. Honestly, I'm relying on this piece of paper as to where the boundary is. So I guess I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't know the answer either. My guess as a response is that it does not comply, but it's pre-existing non-conforming, and so it's
Okay,
not necessarily something that you'd be compelled to address.
I see, okay. With regard to the, the back right flooding, that sort of thing, again, I just purchased the home. I'm not aware of this type of thing, but if that's something that we do run into, while doing the landscaping, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to try to sell condos with a flooded area. I'll try to address that at that point. However, those types of things can be addressed. And with regard to the parking, yeah, I mean, again.
Let's put a pin in parking
Sure.
until the
Yep.
end.
Okay.
I think I heard that there's brush and wood. I imagine it's going to be cleaned up, but hopefully you'll confirm. And what kind of a landscaping plans have you made or considering?
Honestly, I haven't set anything in stone. I'm just trying to figure out, if this were, to be approved, obviously that allows me, more opportunity outside to do things with landscaping and things like that. I mean, the budget, I'll have more of a budget to do certain things. Have I looked at, where and what? No, because I still don't know that, the parking will be here. I mean, I want to make the place look nice. I want to make that clear. I've done this in the past. I've included a couple of examples, I think, in the packets. I'm not here to kind of just come in and do a quick flip and hit the road. I mean, I take time. I take pride in my work. It's going to look nice. It's going to look top notch. After that, I can't really say specifics as to, rhododendron here, grass there. I don't have the specifics at this point.
All right. So the 5 items that I heard were there's a shed question, brush and wood and landscaping plans, number 2. Number 3, the corner floods, any plans. Number 4, sounded like there were more declarations than questions that traffic has increased and that Mount Vernon has 2 families, condexes perhaps. And then there was a plan question, any plans for more parking, which I guess probably is the next thing, unless the board has something else in mind. We should probably tackle more completely parking ideas. Anybody have other thoughts that are not parking?
So, I mean, a couple things come to mind. One is I'm not that worried about the utility pole because, you know, if we're talking about like actually knocking it over, I feel like it takes more than the speed that you're going to have coming out of a parking spot to really affect. So I'm less worried about that. But the thing that does come to mind is the stacking of the cars one in front of the other and having to pull out multiples. If they're in the same household, maybe they switch cars, but you know, that's, if it's a 2-bedroom, it might be, you know, it might be 2 separate people who own 2 separate cars, and so we can't certainly guarantee that. And that is a pretty busy street. I'm not worried about the additional people causing massive traffic, but I am worried about the idea of them trying to pull out constantly and then getting rear-ended by somebody coming down that road faster than they should go.
Question that, if it's a 2-family now, even though it has been unoccupied, and there are supposedly 4 parking places that are permitted.
There need to be 4.
Right, so do we know where those are? Are they part of these 6? And which ones are they?
Yeah, so currently, I really think that there are only 3, as I understand it. 1, 2, and 3 currently exist. 4, 5, and 6 are proposed. So they're short. It's short. You know what I mean? You pull in, and you know you're kind of, there's this big bush, triangle thing that you pull up to. The front of your car is here, and the back of your car somewhere close to the street. So it's not a deep parking space. And there are 3 of those.
Is there a reason why you weren't splitting it to maybe put 3 parking spots off of Mount Vernon toward the back?
Honestly, no.
No.
That's, you know, easily doable. And another possibility is to keep it as is. I mean, I totally, respect everyone's concerns and so forth. But it sounds as though the more parking, the better.
Well, you have to have 5.5.
Yep. So.
So pretty much you have to have 6.
So yeah. So I mean, we could do it on Mount Vernon Street. I mean, it's just a matter of, again, what makes it look nice and what allows for, proper. Lawn, things like that. Again, I'm kind of trying to make it look nice, so.
So you have the front 2-door entry to the house.
Yep.
In 2 questions. So how do they enter? Do they enter from, is there the 2 entries in the back? And then the second part of the question is, how does this relate to the 3rd condo as far as how do they enter front and back?
So the 3rd floor would enter on the right side as you face the home.
Okay.
Go up the stairs, and then they just go up an additional set of stairs.
Okay. And that's from the front.
Correct.
So I mean, so all condos can enter from the front. Can they all enter from the back?
They can. That's where the second way of egress is currently. So there is a door back there that they can access. The basement is also in the back. So and there's a bulkhead and so forth.
So it sounds like that parking off of Mount Vernon would not be an inconvenience then for entry to the house.
Yes, that is true. Currently, there's a I don't know what it was. I mean, maybe it's a small addition onto the home where that back entrance is. So I've considered just I don't know, just buttoning that up, or, I don't know, making it, more easy to use, that sort of thing. Where that leads, so you go in, that's, yeah, you can access the first floor there. I'm just going off of memory, apologize. So yeah, so there is an entrance there. It's just a matter of who uses it.
It sounds like a great project that is well needed, and I think just how can you shift it around to have some continuity with, so
Sure.
that it looks good and it's
Yep.
functional from a flow of
Right.
people coming and going.
Very definitely, yeah. Yep. Thank you.
So what we oftentimes hear is that there's an effort to be balancing a variety of needs. There's any number of members of boards such as ours who could say, you know what, I love the tandem parking because that limits the kind of the mass of cars that are facing the street. And then there are other boards, such as we're talking about tonight, that say, you know what, it's probably better to split up the parking because the tandem is, it's too many cars on Prescott Street, it's too trafficy there. Let's make an easier, effort to leave the home via Mount Vernon. What do we give up? We give up, some open space. I don't know what's in the back. If you were going to put the parking in the rear of the home. So if I'm afforded an opportunity, I would suggest that we're probably headed in that direction, just kind of cutting to the chase a little bit. I'm not going to speak for the balance of the board, but perhaps I will be. And to suggest that there be, take another crack at the parking, put a few spaces. You guys are the experts. It's your design. You guys know far better than us. We're kind of spitballing at what our preferences are. But go back to the surveyor, the architect, the drawer, whomever is doing this stuff, and see if you can reconfigure parking to kind of address some of the concerns that we've heard both from the board and the gallery tonight. In that same breath, I would ask you to take a stab at what's the lot going to look like as far as landscaping goes. Are we losing trees? Are we adding trees? Are we adding bushes? Are we going to grass? Are there going to be gravel? Is there going to be patio? Things of that nature. I think under the assumption that this will be we're looking at a three unit application. So under the assumption that that's what we're driving at, then let's whatever the economics are, let's put. Obviously you're going to approach things differently if it's 2 units as opposed to 3. So if you could take a crack at a landscaping plan, again, I'll leave it to you and your team for the amount of detail. It's just, we're not talking about the back of a matchbook here, since we're going to be drawing a new parking plan. Let's identify some trees or beds or whatever it is out there in the yard. I think in that same breath, since we've heard that there is flooding in the back, I think I would ask for you to take a longer look at that, both as far as the neighborhood goes, and the last thing I think that you want is to sell a unit to somebody. I heard that there was flooding. Somebody moves in, and 3 months later there's flooding in the back. You never told me about this. It's come up tonight, so we probably should take a crack at addressing it if it's just a function of a couple of dry wells or redirecting things out onto the street. I don't know, but I'd certainly leave that to you and your team. But in my mind's eye, that feels like the thrust of where we're headed is let's look at splitting up the parking. Let's look at landscaping, and let's see what kind of a solution can come for the flooded back corner. And again, board members, it's not my intention to speak for everybody. So if you've got something different or something additional in mind, then by all means, let's share it with the applicant.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. The flooding issue is a non-issue. The house is there. He's not making any exterior changes to the house.
Well, technically he is, 'cause he's
No,
adding parking.
he's not making any big thing exterior.
If he's adding parking,
If he's
Alan,
adding
he's adding
parking.
impervious surface.
So it's not gonna drain.
I mean that one's a no-brainer, Alan. If he's adding parking, he's adding impervious surface.
I
we're adding
understand.
a road.
I'll take that back.
Yeah, bite your tongue.
I'll bite my
Strike it
tongue
from the
with that.
We already
record.
did. We don't have to beat it to a dead
Oh,
horse.
come on.
I'll bite my tongue with that.
After the
I
meeting.
don't see that as a major concern here, but I'll bite my tongue. I understand where people are coming from. I get it. I get it.
If you were in a butter
as well. You
I'm
were
sorry,
saying-
let's not, dive into personalities and shouting across the room. If you have something to say, there will absolutely be another opportunity
No,
for you
let
to
it
come
come up
to
and
the
address it.
podium.
I'll address it.
I'm not asking if you'll address it, I'm asking for the room to have decorum, which is one person speaks at a time.
I
The
understand.
applicant's
I
at the podium.
apologize.
So if there are any further thoughts, then the board should share them now, otherwise we will certainly move things along.
That sounds like a reasonable next step.
All right, then if you wouldn't mind, we heard some comments coming from the back, if you'd see the podium, and whomever else would like to be heard, either again, come on up. And we have your name and address, so you don't need to reintroduce yourself. All right, seeing and hearing none, then I guess we are just going to be postponing. So is there a motion from anybody? When's the next hearing? Or continuing anyway?
What do we, today's what, December 13th, so January,
8th?
January 8th, yep.
Is there a
I make a
motion?
motion to continue this to January 8th, Valerie?
January 8th,
Yeah.
yeah.
Motion made. Any second?
I'll second.
Ron seconds.
Make sure the applicant's okay with
Are we running into any time standard issues? Are we going to need a waiver from the applicant for more time or anything like that?
You can fill it out.
All right. All right. I should perhaps ask you, however, did you have a willingness to sign a time waiver to postpone not postpone, but to continue to January?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, very definitely.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, unanimous. We are continued to January. Sounds good. Thank you. That is the end of our regular stuff. We have, Valerie has produced the calendar for 2019, which I think we're going to need a motion to approve, unless there is any discussion, of course. I think we've talked about a few of the dates in past meetings, so this is a relatively thoughtful calendar. No commentary. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept the
Wait, October 1?
calendar as presented.
We've been doing this for like
Sorry.
3 straight meetings.
Okay.
All right. Motion made by Mr. Kusia. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ron seconds. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So unanimously adopted meeting schedule.
I've seconded everything you've
Well,
done.
you're getting on board.
And
Yeah.
You're on the right thing.
look, if you guys want to kibitz, we could do it after the meeting. Is there a motion to close, Mr.
I
Kusia?
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Adjourn. Ooh, Ms. Jacobs, thank you very much for the second. All in favor?
Beat you to it.
Aye. All
I was
opposed?
with my mouth then.
No, we are adjourned. Thank you
Can
all.
someone just